What's up, guys? It's Jensen, and welcome to another video. So at 12-5 this year, the Miami Heat have been one of the surprise teams in the NBA. I was higher on this team than most coming into the season. They were my projected number 5 seed, but I thought that they could be the number 4 seed if everything went right. But they've exceeded all expectations this year, and there wasn't much hype with the Miami Heat coming into the season, but I really liked the pieces they had, and the players are showing up for them. Let's start with Jimmy Butler. He's been a great, impactful piece for the Miami Heat since coming from Philadelphia. I really like the pairing of Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat because you take into account Jimmy Butler's toughness and his defensive mentality, and you combine that with the Miami Heat culture, and it was like a perfect pairing. And you're seeing it play out on the court this year. Jimmy Butler's been amazing. And he might be a top 10 player in the NBA right now. With all the great players that there are in the NBA, Jimmy Butler's been up there. He's been amazing this year. But you look at the team, and it's far from a one-man show in Miami because multiple guys are stepping up their game this year to really help out the team. Have you guys seen Tyler Hero this year? This guy is arguably the steal of the NBA draft. I mean, he was drafted at number 13 overall. I thought that was too low when he was drafted, but turns out I was right because you see this guy and he's so electric, he can catch fire in a hurry. He has a silky smooth three-point shot, and he's money from the free throw line. Guys like that today in the NBA are so valuable. We saw a similar guy in J.J. Redick get a big-time contract from the New Orleans Pelicans. So for the Miami Heat to have a guy like Tyler Hero, that's very important. But the guy I didn't expect to show up this year was Kendrick Nunn. The undrafted rookie. No one expected anything of him. No one even knew his name, but he's a potential Rookie of the Year candidate this year. I really like his game. And then we have to take into account Bam Adebayo in the center. He's been playing great interior defense this year, and I really like his game. He's been an impactful piece. And moving Justice Winslow from small forward to point guard has been a major success. I thought that Justice Winslow was a bust based on the first couple years of his career, but they've really turned it around, and it's in large part due to the greatness of the Miami Heat organization. And head coach Eric Spoelstra has done a great job with those guys. And Miami's a real threat in the Eastern Conference. And with the right moves, they could even make the NBA Finals, but not as currently constructed because they lack the star power along with Jimmy Butler. Because you look at the roster, and other than Jimmy Butler, there isn't really another player who can potentially step up as a star this year. Maybe in future years, Kendrick Nunn could be an all-star, but right now, there isn't really anyone other than Jimmy Butler. So I really feel like Miami, they need to look to the outside right now to get another star to pair with Jimmy Butler. Because in today's NBA, it's almost necessary that you have two stars in order to compete this year. I mean, you look at LeBron and AD, Kawhi and Paul George. It really is a two-star league right now. And there are even a couple of big threes. So I really feel like Miami needs to make a move. And I think that they need to look at Blake Griffin right now. And I think that the Miami Heat need to make a deal for Blake Griffin. So my projected deal would be that Miami sends out Goran Dragic and James Johnson plus a future first-round pick to the Detroit Pistons for Blake Griffin and Kyrie Thomas. So let's start with Detroit. Obviously, if you watch my Andre Drummond video, you know my take on Detroit. But to sum it up, I essentially think that as currently constructed, they don't really have a high ceiling as a team. I think that at their peak, they're probably a 7 or 8 seed that gets swept in the first round. And that's probably not going to cut it, at least in my opinion. So I think that they need to blow up their core and start a rebuild with guys like Luke Kennard and Bruce Brown. They got a couple of nice players there. And we have to keep in mind that, well, it might not seem like a great haul to get for Blake Griffin. We have to keep in mind that his contract is pretty bad. We're talking about 3 more years, and he's making $34 million this year. And Blake Griffin, even though he's been pretty great, he hasn't been living up to that type of contract. So to get a future first-round pick for Blake Griffin based on his contract and the way he's playing, that's probably a win for Detroit. Plus, it allows them to build for the future and maybe get a top 10 or top 5 pick, which is really what it's about. for Detroit, the best case scenario is that they kind of stink this year, but maybe they could get Cole Anthony or Anthony Edwards to jumpstart their rebuild. That's what it's all about for Detroit. But for Miami, that's where things get interesting. I'm a huge Jimmy Butler fan. I've seen him grow up with my Chicago Bulls, and that's how I fell in love with the team. I remember those guys, Jimmy Butler, along with Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, and their physicalness and how defensive they were. And it was amazing to watch those guys. I really respect Jimmy Butler, and I think that he could be the number one option on a championship team. And that may seem crazy, and I might be in the minority, but you take into account how well he plays defense and the fact that he's so clutch in pressure situations. And I really feel like he's almost like Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, Kawhi is better, but they were both defensive players when they came into the NBA who developed their offensive game and became all-stars. I think that Jimmy Butler could have a Kawhi Leonard-like impact in this postseason if everything goes right for Miami. And if Blake Griffin can play the Pascal Siakam type role where he's the second best player on the team and he's making a positive impact, which I think Blake Griffin can. I think that he is the second best player on a championship team, but in Detroit, he's being treated like the best player on their team, so that's why Detroit isn't really in the conversation. But as a second best player, Blake Griffin might excel. I think that would be a great fit, especially considering that he would be with Eric Spoelstra in Miami, and I really feel like Spoelstra will put him in the right situation. Then you take into account how Bam Adebayo could be this year's version of Marc Gasol from last postseason, in that Bam Adebayo is an interior presence on defense who is also a lob threat at times, and he's mostly a major factor on defense, which is the main thing. And a guy like Kendrick Nunn who could be the Fred VanVleet of this year, a guard who could get really hot at the right moment, and you even take into account Tyler Hero. While he may not have Danny Green's level of defense, but he's a guy who has a great three-point shot and he can get hot. And this Miami team, if they were to trade for Blake Griffin, they would look a lot like Toronto's team from last year, which, by the way, won a championship. And I really like what they're building in Miami there. I think they have a strong culture. And I think that head coach Eric Spoelstra is doing a great job with those guys. And Jimmy Butler is really being a good leader this year, which is good to see after he didn't gel with teammates from previous teams. But if they trade for Blake Griffin, Miami is really an NBA Finals threat. They could get to the NBA Finals, and don't be surprised if they win it all if they were to trade for Blake Griffin. And we'll see how it goes. Obviously, Milwaukee is also there, Philadelphia, and Boston Celtics are doing pretty good, but I might favor Miami over all those teams if they trade for Blake Griffin. But anyways, we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Please like and subscribe. I'll be providing you more NBA and NFL hot takes as the season goes on, and have a good day.